Here it is Sunday, and I'm in John's house still. This place is a retreat center. It's away from everything. It's in the middle of the clouds when it's cloudy out, or it's up with the hawks when they're flying by at eye level. And so I'm staying here just for a little while longer to recuperate, work on my book, and meditate. While I'm doing it, I thought I'd give you another tour of another painting. This is a painting called Sidhartha, the Buddha. Now, there are a lot of stories out there that Buddhism is a religion. But if you were to ask Buddha himself, in his own writings, he would tell you it's far from it. Buddhism is a practice. It's a practice of meditating on one thing at a time. The principle is that you focus your attention, all of your mind, in fact, all of your being, on one task every moment. That task might be simple, like breathing, or it might be waving weapons around in the air with absolute precisions, like Shaolin swords or crutches. Or it might be cooking, walking, talking, eating, being creative, making a painting. I know Buddhists or people who practice Buddhism who are Southern Baptists, and it doesn't interfere with their beliefs about God, who are Muslim, Baha'i, Hindu, and of course Buddhists. I even know atheists who practice Buddhism. Yep, atheists. It's simply the practice of meditating at one thing at a time. I did this painting for John, and it's a depiction of an actual statue that is in Thailand. It's about 45 feet tall. And in this case, it's a picture of the statue coming to life. If you look closely, you can see that the eyes are opening and the light is coming from within the eyelids. There's a little dot between the eyes, right on the forehead. It's like a starburst with 1,000 stars exploding at one time. That's from the third eye. That's when imagination is born, from within, creating the inner world so that you can create the outer world. And the lotus in his palm that floats in the air, that's lit up like a candle. The lotus represents, in Asian mythology, that part of ourself that's always alive beneath the surface, like a lotus flower, growing unseen, until finally one day it reaches the surface of the water and voila, a beautiful flower. It opens up to the sun and everyone says, where did that come from? We know where it came from. In the water, stupid. So, anyways, this is also a story of Sidhartha, an actual character in time. He lived before Jesus was born about 500 years. He was a prince of a warlord who owned part of India. This warlord, his father, when he had the christening ceremony, their comparable christening ceremony for his little baby boy, a wise master came to visit them, and he was honored by this teacher. And he said to this master, he said, tell me, will my son become a great king like me? And he wanted to hear yes. He was dedicated to hear the word yes. And the master confused him. He said, it isn't clear yet, but he's going to be a great man. He goes, oh, well, see, he's going to be a ruler like me. He goes, no, something tells me he's going to be doing something bigger than that. He goes, like what? He goes, like he's going to be able to wake up, become a spiritual teacher. Now, the father was so distraught by that message that his son might relinquish his crown and go and become a monk in the forest or something like that, that he built a vast temple, a home, a compound, with anything that somebody would want. Friends, instructors, girlfriends, games, all the food you could eat, all the exercise you could have, practices in the military arts so that later he could rule. Anything he wanted, but he never let him out of the compound. True, he kept him confined. He didn't want to open him up to the possibility that he might wander off. And one day the son, when he was a teenager, married, with a child, madly in love, he realizes that there is a world out there, and he says, Dad, I think it's time you let me see the world. So his dad said, okay, son, you're going to see it anyway. So he arranged a parade in which he had the streets swept, everything cleaned, fresh paint on the buildings. He removed anybody who was ugly, old, sick, infirmed, or poverty-stricken. Anything that resembled suffering was gone from the streets, and a parade went on. Sorry for the jittering move. And a parade went on, and in that moment, accidentally, Sidhartha saw three things that disturbed him to the core. He saw an old man, old age. He saw someone dead at a funeral pyre. And he saw illness. And he realized that suffering existed, and he made a personal dedication that he would remove suffering from the world. And here's the secret. In order to remove the suffering that's caused in the mind, all one needs to do is focus their attention on what it is they're doing every moment. Not to get attached to the suffering, but to allow it to flow through them. You can be someone who's running a corporation. You can be someone who's a military advisor or in the front field protecting. You can be a scientist, doctor, lawyer, street cleaner, artist. Doesn't matter. But if you do what you do with absolute dedication, your mind is free from the ideas that plague the mind. The overwhelming notion that there's nothing you can do, you're a victim to circumstance, or anything else like that. Anyways, this is the painting dedicated to a man who lived, who had but one wish, to end suffering on the earth. Thanks.